Okay, so this is going to be the answer key for lesson 2-3 clearing fractions. This was on page 38, and then you had some problems to do here. Okay, so let's take a look starting on number 30. Okay, so first off, we already had common denominators of 13s across the board there. So we didn't have to worry about making a common denominator. So when that happens, again, we're just writing the top down. So we're going to have b minus 3b equals 8. So now combine like terms. So remember, there's a 1 in front here. So 1 minus 3 is negative 2b equals 8. I'm then going to divide both sides by negative 2 and get b equals negative 4. And that's going to be my final answer there. Okay, going to number 30, 31. All right, so now I'm going to put the 5 over a 1. Okay, now I need a common denominator. So my common denominators here are going to be 5s. So I'm going to multiply the top and bottom here by 5s. So I have 25y over 5 minus 3/5 equals 4/5. So again, if I have a common denominator, I can go ahead and just clear those out. Okay, so the top I have 25y minus 3 equals 4. All right, so now go ahead and solve. We're going to start by adding the 3 over to the other side, so that cancels. So I have 25y equals 7, and now I'm going to divide both sides by 25. So in this case, y will equal 7/25. Okay. All right, going to my next one here, number 32. So my common denominator is going to be 10s. So I'm going to have 10s across the board on the bottom. All right, and I'm going to have to multiply this first guy by 2. So I'm going to get a 2n. The 3n's already good because we already had a 10 down there. And then I'm going to multiply this guy by 2 and get a 2 there. So again, as long as my bottom is good to go, I'm going to go ahead and clear those out. And on the top here, I have got 2n minus 3n equals 2. Combine like terms. So I've got negative 1n equals 2. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. So n will equal negative 2. Okay, next problem. Number 33 here. All right, so my common denominator for this guy should be 15s. So I'm going to go ahead and put 15s down here on the bottom. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and multiply this top guy by 5s, or the first guy by 5. So I get 10/15. I'm going to multiply this middle one by 3 and get a 9m on top. So now again, when I look at the bottom here, everything matches, so we drop that off. So we've got 10 plus 9m equals 31. Okay, now go ahead and subtract the 10 from both sides. So that cancels. So I have 9m equals 21. And then I'm going to divide by 9. And I can take, let's see, I can take a 3 out of both of those. So we will need to reduce our fractions here. So right now I currently have m equals 21/9. But I can divide both of those by 3. All right, so when I'm dividing both by 3, I end up with m equals 7/3. And that's my answer. All right, going to the next guy. All right, so on this guy, it looks like the common denominator is going to be 16. So I'm going to go ahead and put some 16s on the bottom here. All right, and on my first guy, I'm going to multiply this guy by 8 to get 8n. I'm going to multiply this last fraction here by 2s and get 6 on top there. Okay, so now again, the bottom are the same, so those drop off. So I have 8n minus 2n equals 6. Combine like terms, so I'm going to go ahead and put these guys together right here. And so I'm going to end up with 6n equals 6. I then divide by 6 and get n equals 1. All right, number 35. Okay, so anytime we've got a whole number, let's go ahead and put that over a 1. All right, and so then 8 and 3 have 24 in common. So I'm going to have to put 24s on the bottom here. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and multiply this guy by 8 and get an 8b. Multiply this one by 3 and get 3. And then I'm going to have to multiply this guy by 24s. All right, so 24 times 19 will be 456 when we multiply that out. All right, so now let's go ahead. Again, the bottom drops off because we have all 24s there. So I have 8b plus 3 equals 456. I'm going to subtract 3 from it. So 8b equals 453. And then I'm going to divide by 8. Now, if I remember this right, yeah, that doesn't go in. So your answer is just going to be b equals 453 over 8. Okay, we're going to move to number 36. All right, so common denominators here will be 20. So I'll have 20s on the bottom. So I'm going to multiply this guy by 5s. So I've got 5 20ths. I'm going to multiply this middle one by 4s. So I have 16x. Okay, so the bottom should fall off. So I'm left with 5 plus 16x equals 11. All right, I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 5 off and get 16x equals 6. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 16. So x will equal, now reduce our fractions here, so you can cut these both down by 2 since they're both even, and we'll end up with 3/8. Okay, number 37. All right, so my common denominator on this one is going to be 16. So 11z over 16 is still good. Now I'm going to have to multiply this guy by 2s. So I'm going to end up with 14z over 16. And then here I already have 16 on the bottom, so I'm just going to leave it as 5/16. Okay? All right, so now if I look at the bottom here, those will drop off. So I have 11z plus 14z equals 5. So now I combine like terms and get 25z equals 5, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 25. So z will equal, again, I can take a 5 out of both of these. So I'm going to take a 5 out and end up with 1/5 for a final answer there. All right, 38. So my common denominator here, we're going to be 12. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply by 4. So I get 4x over 12 minus 7x over 12. And then I'm going to multiply this guy by 4 and get 8/12. Okay? So now again, the bottom will drop, oops, wrong one. The bottom will drop off, so those guys will go. So I just have what's on top left here. So I've got 4x minus 7x equals 8. So I combine like terms and get negative 3x equals 8. So then x will be negative 8/3. Okay. All right, and then we had number 56 out of the book here, so I just kind of brought this in so we could look at it. Okay, so on this one it says describe and correct. Oops, how about I use a highlighter? Describe and correct the error. Okay, so we're coming over here, we're looking at this guy right here and trying to figure out what they did wrong. Okay, so what they're trying, I guess, to show you is that they're multiplying everything by 8 here. But we know that if we were to kind of multiply by 8, that guy would need to change, right? So what I kind of always recommend to students is when you're given a problem like this where you've got to figure out where someone's made a mistake, a lot of times it's just as easy for you to go ahead and work it out yourself and then see the mistake as you're working it out. So like in this case, I'd put this over a 1. So my common denominators are going to be 8. So I got 3x over 8 minus. Now on this, I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 8. So I'm in 8 over 8 equals 5/8. Okay, so again, the bottom should drop off here. So this guy should have dropped off, and we should have ended up with 3x minus 8 equals 5. So now if you go and look at what they've got right there, they do not have that 8 there. So that's where they messed it up. Now it does say describe and correct. So you need to actually say in words what happened there. They should have made that 1 and 8. They didn't do their common denominators through all the parts, okay? But then you also need to go ahead and solve it out. So I'm going to go ahead and add the 8 over. So that cancels. So I get 3x equals 13. And then I'm dividing by 3. So x will equal 13/3. That should have been the correct answer there. All right, on the next problem, number 59, 3 friends go bowling. The cost per person per game is $5.30. The cost to rent shoes is $2.50 per person. What is their total? Oh, sorry, their total cost is $52.20. How many games did they play? All right, so we're going to start by defining a variable here. So when I'm looking at this, I'm going to say G is my number of games, because that's what we're looking for here, okay? And so what we got to figure out is really what is it kind of per person, or what's going on here, okay? Now, what's really important to note here is that we already know there are 3 friends, okay? And so we've got 3 friends, and it's going to be $5.30 per person for each game that they play, okay? So in reality, what's happening here is I'm going to multiply those. I'm going to take the $5.30 and I'm going to multiply it by 3, and I'm going to find out that that was $15.90. And that is what they're paying for those 3 friends to play every single game. So right off the bat, it's $15.90 per game. Okay. Now, in this case, $2.50 for the shoe rental, that happens one time. So you've still got 3 friends at $2.50. So I'm going to take $2.50 times 3, and I'm going to end up with $7.50 for the shoe rental. Now, we know that their total is $55.20. All right. So I have So I have defined my equation, or defined my variable. I've wrote an equation, and now I'm going to solve it. Okay. All right. So when we do this, I'm going to kind of move my equation out over here a little bit just so I have some room. So I'm going to rewrite it real quick for us. So I have got 1590G plus $7.50, and that equals 55.20. Okay, so I'm going to subtract off the 750 to start with. So I have $15.90 G equals 55.20 minus 750 will be $47.70. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide by the 1590, and G is going to equal 3. So they bowled 3 games. Okay. All right, and the last one we were looking at is 65. So coming down here and look at 65. Okay, so as I read it, you have $85 in a bank account. Each week you plan to deposit another $8 from your allowance and $15 from your paycheck. So they give you the equation here showing, look, I'm doing 15 and 8, so really I'm just doing $23 a week. B is the amount you have in your bank account. W is how many weeks you've been saving. So the question is, how many weeks from now will you have saved $175 in your bank account? Okay, so since it's how much is in your bank account, 175 should go in for that B. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write the equation here. And I'm going to put 175 equals 85 plus, and I'm going to go ahead and combine like current terms and just call that 23W. All right, so now I'm going to subtract 85 from both sides. So that cancels. All right, and I'm going to take 175 minus 85 and get 90 equals 23W. And then I'm going to divide by 20, divide by 23. So 90 divided by 23 will give you 3.9 weeks. So I'm not sure if they'll give you 3.9 or if they will round that up and call it 4 weeks. But I would take either one at that point. So either one of those, 3.9 or 4 would work. Okay? All right, and that concludes the video answer key.